We are now living in a time when foreign gangs can cross over our border and seize people's property at gunpoint with no fear of the law.
This video has been making the rounds online since yesterday. Shows armed men walking through a building, knocking on doors, then entering an apartment. These men are part of a dangerous Venezuelan gang, and their numbers have been growing steadily because of the crisis at the border.
There have been rumblings of new gang activity in Aurora all summer. Officials have skated around the topic, but now there's video and victims they can't deny.
It's really like being held hostage.
Cindy was a prisoner in her own home. She's lived in this building at 12th and Dallas for years. This summer, when crime got worse, Cindy got cameras. Doorbell video shows a group of armed men forcing their way into her neighbor's home. Another night, her camera outside captured two men approaching a vehicle, guns drawn.
What I am told is that police leadership put it out that no less than like 3 or 4 officers could respond to one of these complexes. I now have other property owners, other apartment complexes calling and telling me the same kinds of things.
Food is the biggest commodity over there.
Cindy says she survived the ordeal by staying quiet, giving them food and bed bug spray. Every night, praying she'd hear sirens.
They left us there to die.
In her new home, far away, the peace she feels is fleeting. Because for so many others, she says there is no escape, no solution, and no sign that help will ever come.
The people working to defund the police are the same people bringing in millions of foreigners without any expectation to assimilate. These foreigners are being given money, education, and homes, while tax-paying American citizens are being kicked out of their homes and losing their jobs. Property taxes generate approximately 75% of a city's funding. And as the job market, home sales, commercial real estate, and the entire U.S. economy continues to plummet, the average American citizen will no longer be able to pay the city's taxes, and city governments will become desperate. Right on cue, the federal government announces it will be giving out hundreds of millions of dollars to cities willing to take more migrants. This isn't new. The Department of Homeland Security, who is supposedly tasked with securing the homeland, has already given out $1 billion to city governments in return for taking more migrants. And there will be billions more given out. This incentivized plan of self-destruction is scheduled to last another 2 years. The Venezuelan gang violence in Aurora, Colorado, is already spilling out to the surrounding suburbs. And Aurora is just one of many. There are hundreds of sanctuary cities, counties, and states, all of which are losing money. And the funds being given out by Homeland Security will not cut it. They will only increase the amount of mouths to feed. As it turns out, the cost of feeding and housing tens of millions of people is unsustainable. And as the money starts to run out, things will get much more dangerous. John Williams predicts we will be seeing more demand for gated communities and private security companies.
A lot of these, new residents are coming from a harder world. They're coming from the El Salvadors of the world, the Venezuelas of the world. These countries where they know a lot of hardship, and they've come here for a better life, and they're going to do what they have to do to achieve that better life. And as we walk into the winter, it's going to be real cold in San Francisco, in Denver, New York City, and if they don't have shelter, they're going to take it, most likely. I mean, if the food cuts off, if the shelter, becomes harder to come by, if all of these, perks and things they were promised go away, it's going to be a free-for-all.
Last year, 139 mayors officially told Congress they need more money to provide food, housing, and other services to their growing migrant community. They wrote that both city government agencies and local nonprofits are overwhelmed and cannot provide the most basic assistance.
Where do you see all of this going? Do you think that this video right here is the end? Or do you think that this situation is very well the beginning? It's only 3 months until winter. These cities, they're going to get really cold.
Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Hello and welcome. It is Doug Diamond here. You have reached another Diamond Report Live. I'm glad you made it. on a Labor Day weekend. Thank you for spending your time with me this evening. It's 10:06 p.m. Central Time on 9/1/24. Yeah, I don't think the gangs are going anywhere, do you? I think, if anything, they're going to be continuing to build their numbers. We know tens of millions of them are here. And we know who is responsible for that happening, of course. And it goes beyond Kamala, and it goes beyond the Biden and Obama administration. But yeah, it's a replacement migration. That is why they're here. They're here to replace us. They're not here to assimilate, as Greg mentioned in that video. So anyway, hello and welcome. It's Doug Diamond again, and yeah, we're going to look at the news. We've got a few things to check out, and I thought we would take a look and see what all we could find to go through and talk about tonight. Some interesting things happening, and the first one I've got pulled up here you may have heard about, but I wanted to shed a little bit more light on this. I thought it was pretty interesting. They're talking about jailing Trump, of course. It says updated, not the state guard. They are federal troops. This is on Hal's website, halturnerradioshow.com. It says the reports are saying that New York is deploying the National Guard for the Trump sentencing on September the 18th. The claim that Trump will be imprisoned that day. Yeah, and they're talking about that they've supposedly cleared out a wing at Rikers Island and so forth. Who knows if it's true? Could very well be. I mean, obviously they're trying to kill him. They're trying to jail him. They're trying to sue him into oblivion. They're trying to do everything they can to stop him from taking the presidency again. But anyway, according to this article, it's saying fear that riots will ensue. So you guys may have seen this. This actually came from, I first heard about it on a tweet from Laura Loomer a day or two ago. Let's see. Yeah, it was 2 days ago. August 30th when she tweeted this. This is her scoop. So Laura Loomer again. A federal law enforcement agent has just told me that the New York State National Guard, keep that in mind, has started staging guardsmen in hotels around New York City courthouse where Trump is going to be sentenced on September 18th, as they're expecting that Trump will be taken into custody and sent directly to Rikers Island by Judge Juan Merchan. And his family, his daughter, is getting rich, by the way. She's getting rich using Trump's name, and they're raising millions of dollars, supposedly. So I wonder how much kickback old Judge Merchan is getting. Sources say that the National Guard is being staged there because the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, and the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, both believe the police unions are preparing to stage a mass out sick day in support of Trump on September 18th because none of the officers want to be involved in the persecution of Donald J. Trump. So that's pretty interesting. That first caught my eye about 2 days ago when I saw that tweet, and then Hal, though, is reporting that they ain't the state or the National Guard. It says numerous reports have been coming in saying large numbers of National Guard troops are being brought into hotels around the courthouse in Manhattan, preparing for the imprisonment of Trump at his sentencing on September 18th. Word came from federal law enforcement source saying that Merchan, blah, 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 whose daughter collected hundreds of thousands of dollars, no, it's millions of dollars, in political consulting work from Democrats during the Trump trial, will order Trump taken to jail at the sentencing on the 18th. Of course, we don't know. It's pure speculation at this point. That could happen. We've got more on that, by the way, so stay tuned. I've got an interesting interview you might want to hear part of regarding that. So they're talking about the out sick day, or the sick out, that the police may stand down so that they cannot be, helping the bad guys here to imprison Trump. So here's the video here where this guy, I'm going to leave it muted, but you can see what's going on. Jason Goodman finds Army at the New York City hotel. This is, I guess, a TikTok video. So he posts this on his TikTok account, and you can see he's talking to these guys, and he goes in and he finds some guys behind the desk, and they basically promptly boot him out and tell him he can't be in there filming and so forth. So that's where that first story, I think, came from. But the interesting thing is this, though. Analysis of the video above we're just looking at proves that the troops involved are federal troops, not the National Guard. Here is the analysis imagery. And if you do a zoom in, this guy's patch right here says U.S. Army. Doesn't say National Guard. This guy's patch pretty clearly also says U.S. Marines. So anyway, I'm not sure if Hal's the one that figured that out or who exactly, but yeah, it doesn't appear to be exactly like we're being told. So forget posse comitatus, I guess, right? Anyway, that's on Hal's website. And then one more on his site. Updated this morning, Ukraine launches large drone attack against the interior of Russia. Over 100 drones so far. That's as of this morning. Air raid sirens are activated in the Lipetsk region of Russia. At the same time, residents can hear Ukrainian drones flying over the city. Russian air defenses are engaging. So this was this morning. And talking about the attack here. Air alerts now at Moscow and some of these other cities. Flights delayed. And says no casualties so far. And at that time, 14 drones have been shot down at that time. And then a little bit later, update says 46 drones were destroyed. 46. So, anyways, the continued attack upon Russia proper is still happening, and indeed seems to be ramping up. So, yes, this is the rumors of war, as we mentioned last week. So, definitely need to keep a sharp eye on that. I think Hal's doing a good job on his reporting on the Russia-Ukraine situation in particular. And I'm a subscriber. I would recommend you guys be subscribers as well. He doesn't give me anything to promote his radio show or any of that. I just think he's doing a really good job. And I've been a subscriber for many years at this point. And radio listener, I like being able to go in and log in on his website and listen to the archives of the 5-day-a-week radio shows that he does. He does a good job with that. So anyway, that's HalTurnerRadioShow.com. And then let's look at needtoknow.news. Got a few articles pulled up here. There's the Venezuelan gangs that we mentioned already at the video at the beginning here. And here is a few more bits of information. It says large groups of armed Venezuelan men believed to be members of the Tren de Aragua prison gang, so prisoners, have invaded entire apartment complexes in Aurora, which is less than 10 miles from Denver. Denver is a Democrat-run sanctuary city that has a population of 710,000 people. Denver has welcomed over 44,000 illegal aliens over the past 2 years, and many are spilling over into neighboring cities and towns. The armed Venezuelan men have been alleged to have committed kidnapping, human trafficking, sex trafficking, home invasion robberies, carjackings, and armed robberies of stores, including 3 gun shops. A 99-unit apartment house was shut down. A shootout reportedly left 1 man with life-threatening injuries. While Denver PD said they are not aware of any apartment complexes being taken over by the TDA, again, this prison gang, there are reports of a gang leader from the TDA that has given the green light to shoot police officers. Not good. So here's a few embedded tweets here as well with more information. So we will see where this goes. And this person here is talking about how unsafe she feels now in Denver. But you know what? You get what you vote for. At least you do sometimes. And if you vote for Democrats, you certainly get Democrats. So, anyway, very interesting situation unfolding there, and look for that type of stuff to continue escalating in blue cities in particular. So, if you live in a blue city, just beware. Beware. UK arrests journalist on terrorist charges after he criticized Israel and terrorist law. Independent journalist Richard Medhurst was detained for 24 hours by cops at Heathrow under counter-terrorism laws, presumably, he believes, for his reporting on Israel and Gaza. He He also criticized the Terrorism Act of 2000 that chills free speech just before he got on the plane, then got arrested under the Terrorism Act upon landing. Wow. It's pretty fast work, huh? He was accused of expressing an opinion or belief that is supportive of a proscribed organization, but they would not explain what that means. He is under investigation and could be sentenced up to 14 years in prison for WrongThink. Literally. Other journalists who have been arrested in the UK have had their free speech, had their speech taken from them, include Julian Assange and some of these other people mentioned. Journalist Glenn Greenwald, his late husband and former Brazilian politician David Miranda, who was instrumental in revealing the Edward Snowden leak, was also detained in the UK under the same law that Medhurst was arrested for. Miranda successfully sued the UK government, arguing that the law did not apply to those participating in journalism. So let's hope that will also apply for this guy. But I don't know. They're cracking down on kids now for putting the wrong thing out on social media. Arresting kids. So who knows where this is going. But as I mentioned in my show title last week, it's the end of free speech. And meaning it's the end of free speech in the world. We are seeing it. We are witnessing it now. And I don't think getting Trump in there is necessarily going to stop that, but it might put the brakes on it a little bit if he were to stay alive long enough to make it into the White House. I don't know. However, it looks like beyond him, even looking out in just 4 more years, which I don't think personally that we have, who knows where it's headed. Obviously, the globalists and people in charge, the unelected bureaucrats, want to take us down a very slippery slope as quickly as possible, where there will be no free speech for anyone, only them. Rising pushback in government and media against Zionist influence in American politics. Former Michigan Congressman Andy Levin, who is a Jewish progressive Democrat, explains that he was also ousted from office in 2022 in a primary election after the Israeli lobby funded his opposition. Levin is pro-Israel, but he also wanted to recognize the political rights of Palestinians. Well, you can't do that. AIPAC recently spent $23 million to get rid of 2 other progressive Democrats who criticized Israel's war in Gaza. That's right. Max Blumenthal exposed the power of AIPAC and said that the Israeli lobby, funded by the Zionist billionaire class, controls U.S. policy in the Middle East. He said that a U.S. embargo on weapons to Israel would change the Jewish state's plans. Yes, but there's probably no chance of that happening, is there? Anyway, that's another article there on G. Edward Griffin's site. Couple more from there. Former OpenAI researcher, AI safety experts are fleeing the company. That doesn't sound good. Fortune reports that Daniel Cocotalo, a former OpenAI governance researcher, recently revealed that nearly half of the company's staff that is focused on the long-term risks of super powerful AI have left. Some critics believe that AI poses a threat to humanity. OpenAI, founded with the mission to develop AGI in a way that, quote, benefits all of humanity, end quote, has long employed a significant number of researchers dedicated to AGI safety, quote unquote. Techniques for ensuring that future AGI systems do not pose catastrophic or existential dangers. However, this guy Daniel Cocotalo suggests that the company's focus has shifted toward commercialization. So, interesting. We got people fleeing the proverbial ship, it sounds like, at OpenAI at least. So, yeah, something to keep an eye on again as well. Huge. RFK Jr. vows to stop the crime of chemtrails, aka geoengineering, as part of the Trump administration. And RFK Jr. does know about this. I happen to know he was interviewed. He interviewed my good friend, Mr. Dane Wigington, not too long ago, about a year ago. It says Robert F. Kennedy responded to a video post on X that featured a pilot whistleblower exposing chemtrails by writing, We are going to stop this crime. Yeah, and Dane mentioned that in a recent post that he did. On April 11th, 2024, Tennessee was the first state to pass a law banning the federal government from geoengineering experiments and intentionally dispersing chemicals into the atmosphere. Yes, well, as many of you guys know, I live in Tennessee, and it hasn't made a bit of difference. Not yet, and don't look for it to ever, actually. But the symbolism of it was not lost, for sure. But yeah, it hasn't changed a thing, obviously, and nobody really expected that it would. But it is interesting that I was sort of half expecting the geoengineering to ramp up even worse and get worse. But I don't think it's gotten worse, but it definitely has not gotten better in Tennessee, at least, where I am. Okay, and then here is a embedded tweet from the Concerned Citizen channel on X. It says, I call them tanker terminators. We are paid more than any other pilot, supposedly from a chemtrail pilot whistleblower. I'm convinced the majority of them are remotely operated. The tech obviously exists, and there's way too many. I've been saying that for years. I think that most of those planes are being flown from the ground remotely. Anyway, RFK Jr. is saying we are going to stop this crime. We will see. We will see. But anyway, another reason to like what RFK Jr. is out there saying, for sure. And then speaking of the interview, this is it on the GeoWatch website if you missed it. It's from June 7th, 2023. U.S. presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Dane Wigington. Is climate engineering real? ? And there's the interview embedded. It currently has, I was just looking at this yesterday, over 1.1 million views. Not bad, not bad. Anyway, the word is getting out there, so that is good news. Good news for sure. So let's see here. Articles on technocracy.news. Top 3 headlines. U.S. Department of State leads the attack to kill free speech globally, which is what, again, it's what I was saying last week, and many weeks I've been inferring that that is what they're going for, killing of free speech. Trilateral Commission members have dominated the Department of State since its founding by Rockefeller and Brzezinski in 1973. No less than 11 out of the 16 secretaries of state, or almost 70%, hailed from its membership, meaning the Trilateral Commission. Anthony Blinken is a member. They have all been traitors to America. Oh, let me count the ways. So anyway, that is one of the top headlines here on technocracy.news. 10 reasons why human flourishing has reversed. The progression of technocracy since 2000 is stark. At the same time, the digression of society and human welfare is seen everywhere. Technocrats hold to the religion of scientism, which posits that only scientific truth is valid, which is, again, it's like a religion, leading them to reject all other sources of truth. The net of technocratic domination is suffocating reason and reality. Yep, on purpose. It all comes back to their God, which is science. That's what scientism is all about. Anyway, that's the second article I've got pulled up here. And then the third one, OpenAI safety experts are fleeing the company. So really more of what we already mentioned a little bit ago. Something smells rotten at OpenAI, starting with Sam Altman. Ever since Altman was fired and rehired in November of 2022, emphasis on safety has plummeted. Altman restructured the board, firing those who were concerned about AI safety. Yep, just got to get rid of those folks. Don't want them on board. Since then, almost half of the safety department has fled the company, citing that AI safety is not prioritized. But that's okay. AI will be in charge one day, and that will put your minds to rest, won't it? Anyways, that was the 3 articles front and center on technocracy.news. And this is, I mentioned this a little while ago. This is a clip that I wanted to play. It says, Julie Kelly analyzes Jack Smith's new indictment and tells us whether Judge Merchan will try to jail Trump. So let's listen to just a few minutes of this. It says, great reporter Julie Kelly joined Clay. I don't know who this guy is. Clay and Buck. Clay and Buck has a podcast to talk about the personal smears the left has unleashed against her, Jack Smith's superseding indictment in the J6 case, and whether Judge Merchan in New York will attempt to put Trump in prison. So let's listen to just a little bit of this. I thought what she said was pretty interesting.
Okay, New York City. I was surprised, I don't know if you were, that Alvin Bragg's team actually came out and said, yeah, we don't oppose the request from Donald Trump to postpone sentencing to see how this case, that's the New York City felony case, might have been implicated by the presidential privilege ruling as well. I kind of found that stunning. Now it's entirely on Judge Merchan. Right now they have a sentencing date. You correct me if I'm wrong, Julie. I believe September 18th is when that next court hearing would be. And it's now entirely on Merchan's shoulders exclusively for him to be rendering a punishment. Were you surprised by Bragg's filing saying, hey, we don't oppose this? And what do you think Merchan does now?
Well, they really can't, because the conviction deals with Donald's activity that Donald Trump conducted or did when he was president. Mm-hmm. So unlike the documents case in Florida, that was all post-presidential. But these are alleged, offenses that happened when Donald Trump was president. And so Alvin Bragg really had no choice but to say, we need to figure out what elements in the indictment and the conviction deal with potentially immunized conduct, and I will be posting this afternoon, Clay, for your listeners, the new motion that Donald Trump's lawyers filed yesterday, asking the federal court in New York to move this from the state court to the federal court so they could hash out these federal immunity issues. So we'll see what the federal court says there. But 2 days before the sentencing, Clay, Judge Merchan says that he's going to issue an order to determine what elements in the conviction would be protected by immunity and what won't. My expectation is that Juan Merchan will come back single-handedly say that all of the testimony, all of the evidence in that case relates to personal or political private activity, and it's not covered by Trump v. U.S., the Supreme Court opinion, and then 2 days later try to hold some sort of sentencing hearing. I think he is perhaps the most unhinged judge out of all of them, and that's saying a lot.
Okay, but I think so this is fascinating. What he'll do. Judge Merchan, again, 16th, he has to make that decision, September 16th, then the 18th. What do you think the chances are that he tries to put Trump in prison?
I honestly do think it's slim because of the nature of the convictions. It would be unusual to sentence him to any jail time. Even if he does, usually then you report to prison 2 to 3 months later. I can't see any situation where he would ask for him to be immediately taken into custody. But you know what, Clay? What's going on in that courtroom, it is so unbelievable. Here you have a judge whose daughter is raking in millions of dollars every month from Democrats. And I reported on this, she's hauled in $13 million between January 1 of this year and June 30th while the proceedings were going on in her father's courtroom. She picked up new clients, and like Gretchen Whitmer and others, known Trump haters who have paid her all this money while these proceedings are going on. What's even more astonishing is Juan Merchan still has a gag order on Donald Trump preventing him from saying anything publicly about his daughter, Lauren Merchan, and her business dealings with Democrats. So I guess I would have to say I really can't put anything past this judge at this point. His contempt and his daughter's contempt, and of course profiting off of what's happening to Donald Trump, putting him in jail would only be good for the Merchan family business.
No doubt, but also, can you imagine, Julie, the rending of garments and histrionics that we would see if on September 18th, Judge Merchan says, okay, guilty, punishment is a $200,000 fine. Like, I just, for me, I just look at this and I say, Democrats have been built up to expect a pound of flesh here, right? That is what they have been taught associated with these Trump criminal trials. If the only thing that happens is Merchan institutes some form of like a house, some form of probation and a sentence of a fine after all this, I just think Democrats are going to lose their minds.
They will, and I think that's a really good point, and probably would justify his sentencing Trump to, a few months in prison. And he can do that without any risk because he knows it's never going to happen. Because if the case is not completely vacated, the convictions based on the Supreme Court ruling and all of the appeals, therefore, he knows that Donald Trump, with the Secret Service considerations, everything else, will never go to jail. But to your point, he could get away with saying that. He can satisfy this bloodlust on the left and Democratic Party to see Donald Trump behind bars. His daughter gets a big win then, rakes in more millions of dollars. So it's kind of a win-win for him either way.
Okay. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I like the word that she used there, bloodlust. That's exactly what it is. They are in bloodlust over Trump, for sure, on the left. Anyway, so that gives you a little bit of perspective. This lady here is saying that it didn't look to her like there was really that much of a chance he would be jailed. I'm sort of leaning in that direction as well, but I mean, anything is possible. They've already tried to kill him once. So, I don't know. I wouldn't rule anything out at this point. There will be plenty of fireworks between now and, remember, the 5th of November. So, yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye on it and see what happens. All right, RT.com, U.S. to give Zelensky a free hand on strikes against Russia, on strikes deep inside Russia. Washington has effectively become a party of the Ukraine conflict. Well, they did that a long time ago when they ousted the legitimate government in favor of Zelensky and company. Washington is prepared to lift its ban on Ukrainian strikes deep inside Russia's territory with the use of U.S.-supplied weapons, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman said. So this is something that we heard about some rumblings a few days ago, and apparently hasn't gone any further, but this is dated August 30th, so who knows? But if they're going to give him a free hand and let Zelensky and company call the shots, then them striking Russia, Moscow and St. Petersburg in particular, is a definite possibility. So, of course, they can blame the Ukrainians for doing it, but everyone knows it will be the United States that's doing the actual work, providing the coordinates, providing the equipment, in some cases providing the military men. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, Revolver.news, Brazilian tyrant judge Alexandra drops the hammer, bans Elon Musk's X in the entire country within 24 hours. So, I don't know if you guys knew about this. Yes, this is Voldemort. This is the real guy, not this guy. But he might as well be this guy. He looks pretty similar. And so it begins. Again, another post from Glenn Greenwald. Breaking Brazil's authoritarian censorship judge, Alexandra de Moraes, ordered X banned in all of Brazil within 24 hours. Also ordered Google and Apple to remove X from its stores within 5 days. So the tyranny is here, my friends. As many of you know, disgrace. Any citizens caught accessing X with a VPN will be fined $10,000 per day. And they get to decide who is violating and provide zero proof, is my guess. So this is the guy. In addition to ordering X banned in all of Brazil, Moraes, interesting name, huh? He has no morals. Also, banned any citizens from accessing X using a VPN. Says that any citizen found to access X in Brazil using a VPN will be fined US $10,000 per day. So, censorship expert Mike Benz reacts, imploring Americans to immediately apply a pressure to the U.S. State Department and U.S. Embassy in Brazil. So, it's embedded videos there and some more information. And then Tucker talking about CEO of Telegram, Pavel Durov, which we mentioned last week. So, anyways, yeah, and then I came across this, which really pretty much describes what's going on. It says, me getting executed in Brazil for using a VPN in X in 2024. Yeah, that's where it's headed. Although it might be the chopping block for your head versus the electric chair. Obama gets dragged like a ragdoll over his new Kamala tweet. Did he rip his mask off with this photo? Pretty funny picture. Barry Obama took to X, where he published a pro-Kamala post that grabbed a lot of attention, but mostly for all the wrong reasons. Obama, who absolutely loves identity politics, sent out a dog whistle for his latest underwhelming DEI candidate. He posted a "How It Started, How It's Going" tweet featuring a photo of himself from 10 years ago alongside a photo of Kamala, of Comrade Kamala, as Trump says, not so subtly suggesting that it's still fashionable to elect someone based on race. Yawn. Once again, the Democrats are focused on gender and skin color, not substance, not qualifications or policy. It's a cornerstone of their failed DEI agenda that is destroying companies all over the nation. Why on earth would we allow it to continue to destroy our country? Well, are we going to have a choice? We're going to try if there is an election, but, obviously there will be a lot of shenanigans at play there. It says, well, Obama doesn't care about that. He just wants his 4th term. So there's his original tweet, I guess, how it started and how it's going. 10 years later, and it's still a good look. Yeah, but he's got himself next to a lady who is maybe half black and certainly half Indian. But, I guess we're not supposed to notice that. There's his puppet. Actually, Obama's a puppet too, but that's his mini-me, I suppose. So anyways, that's Revolver.news, where that one is. But I do like that picture. I think it's a good one. Then this one too. For all you lunch meat eaters out there, I found this and thought you guys should know. Notice the mold. Boar's head facing deadly health crises, including listeria, mold, and bugs after implementing refugee work program. So speaking of DEI, it looks yummy, doesn't it? Boar's head. They used to be the Cadillac of lunch meat, but I've noticed that they haven't exactly changed their prices. Now Boar's Head is facing a filthy and deadly health crisis that's led to a nationwide recall of their products and about 9 deaths. The violations at their Virginia headquarters include mold, bugs, mildew, and most alarmingly, deadly listeria. At least 9 people have died after being infected with listeria from Boar's Head deli meats, tied to a massive recall last month. Federal health officials say. So, it says the food poisoning was in, 2 deaths in South Carolina and 1 each in Florida, New Mexico, Tennessee, and New York. So, anyway, just keep an eye on it. If you're a Boar's Head connoisseur, you might want to think again. I didn't know this was going on, but I'm looking to see where the refugees come into play here. It says this disturbing news comes right on the heels of Boar's Head's DEI refugee program, where they hire, train, and mentor migrants. Is there a connection? Maybe. After all, the timing is suspicious. How does a company go from being the top dog to the bottom of the barrel so quickly? Well, just ask Budweiser. They know. Well, you start implementing DEI practices, and in no time flat, your company begins to collapse. Yeah, just ask Boeing, Bud Light, and Harley Davidson. In other words, get woke, go broke. Boar's Head proudly displayed their DEI initiatives on their website, where they bragged about their programs focusing on refugees, quote unquote. There it is. And this is what happens when you turn your company into a charity organization for underperformers. And sadly, the American people are the ones who suffer and die. Here's a close-up of the images. So, bugs, mold, and mildew. But we're just supposed to eat the bugs. So I guess we can eat the Boar's Head and have the bugs in there, embedded right within it. Right there, hiring and training. Boar's Head is part of the Tent Coalition for Refugees in the U.S., exploring, hiring, training, and mentoring opportunities for refugees across the country. Yeah, meaning the illegal hordes. The illegal hordes and Boar's Head. Anyway, pretty interesting. Just want you guys to be aware of that. All right, and then Daily Mail article I found, train wreck for Harris. Kamala is ripped to shreds for word salad on her CNN softball interview, as ex-Obama strategist gives brutal verdict ahead of Trump debate showdown. Harris was last night ripped to shreds. Let's see, this is dated August 30th. Ripped to shreds for her word salad answers in softball liberal media interview, her first since Biden dropped out 40 days ago. Democrat nominee appeared beside her running mate Tim Walz for an hour-long broadcast in which the reality amounted to no less than half an hour of actual questioning by Dana Bash. Yeah, let me see here. It doesn't say on here that I can see, but the reporting was, the rumors were that she and Walz were at CNN, or were in this place where they were videotaping for 6.5 hours. 6.5 hours. So you think, okay, well, you get a lot of information out. No, the White House wanted, I think it was 18 minutes, something like that. And they got, I think CNN posted 20-some minutes. So 6.5 hours of videotaping to get you 18 minutes or 20-some minutes of edited, highly edited video. I could see a number of different edits in just a few clips that I watched. Anyway, not too surprising, but yeah, it says Harris critics said she failed to address 3 issues that plague her campaign: the border crisis, red-hot inflation, and the Biden health cover-up. Yeah, she just ignores anything and everything when those types of things comes up. And she just changes the subject and talks about her mom or her life growing up or something like that, which no one cares about. We've all heard the stories 100 times now. So this is the silly set that they had set up for this. And people were saying that she looks like a midget in this table setting. I mean, they're sitting up straight and pretty tall, and she's slumped down in her chair, and you can see her looking down at times. People were saying that she must have had some notes or something under her table, or maybe an iPad or something underneath the table there, which she doesn't in that shot, but I'm just saying she could definitely have been cheating a little bit on the interview, and not that her answers were good any way that you look at it. So, yeah, says former Trump aide Steve Cortez called it a train wreck interview. So anyway, didn't know if you guys saw that, but pretty funny. And yes, she was there 6.5 hours, and they got how much? Oh, about 20 minutes worth actually using. Sounds about right. Speaking of Tim Walz, her illustrious running mate, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but his own brother is coming out against him. Says, holy smokes, it's true. Tim Walz's brother is trashing him on Facebook. Haven't spoken to him in 8 years. His brother says, I'm 100% opposed to his ideology. And he also said, not the type of character you want making decisions about your future. His own brother. So no love lost there, I guess. So this guy, Spinelli, asks Jeff Walz, says, have a talk with your brother. And Walz says, haven't spoken to him in 8 years. I'm 100% opposed to all his ideology. My family wasn't given any notice that he was selected and denied security the days after. So that's interesting, huh? And then this other person chimed in on Facebook saying, help MAGA get on stage with President Trump and endorse him. Help save this country. And then Walz says, again, the brother, I've thought hard about doing something like that. I'm torn between that and just keeping my family out of it. The stories I could tell. Not the type of character you want making decisions about your future. He should know it's his brother. Reminds me of the Obama situation with his brother. He wasn't quite this forward in putting out the information, but yeah, let's just say there's some really suspicious things out there about the Governor Walz, and some things that aren't really even being talked about much. And let's just say, I'll give you a clue. There's a story out there that appears to be very true, and it has to do with a horse and Governor Walz and an ER visit. I'll leave it at that. If you want to investigate, the article is out there, and it's super disgusting. All right, Revolver.news, U.S. government-funded censorship arm Atlantic Council targeted Telegram just 2 months before the Durov arrest. So we talked about Pavel Durov last week. It says French authorities arrested Russian-born dual UAE French citizen Pavel Durov last weekend as he disembarked from his private plane in Paris. That's actually not exactly that's not the whole story. The part that I've heard here, and I think it's true, is that he was invited to go to dinner with Macron, and that's when he was picked up. So I don't know if they picked him up then or if they picked him up getting off the plane. This says off the plane. But he was invited to go to dinner with Macron. So let's see if this touches on that part of the story. It says that CEO and founder of popular messaging app Telegram faces a number of serious charges from French authorities, ranging from drug offenses to child sexual exploitation offenses. Yes, but it's okay when they do it. Just not use his system to let that happen. It'd be like arresting Mark Zuckerberg for those same things, right? Seems like you probably could, but nope. He's on the right side, you see. Of course, none of these charges have anything to do with Durov directly, but rather refer to activity that allegedly occurred on Telegram, Durov's privacy-focused messaging app that boasts nearly 1 billion active users. Yeah, and note that the encryption is really good, and the governments can't seem to break into it, so they wanted backdoors, and he said no, according to an interview that we played even just last week on the show. It is unclear from the charging documents what exactly the French authorities' argument is regarding Durov's culpability, and French President Macron defensively took to X to assure the public that the arrest wasn't political. And I'm sure everybody breathed a sigh of relief. Now, that's so much better. Thank you, Macron, for telling us the truth. Yeah, right. Nonetheless, it's extraordinarily unlikely that Durov's arrest is unconnected to Durov's well-known refusals to cooperate with intelligence agencies' censorship and law enforcement requests. Furthermore, it is inconceivable that Durov's arrest would occur without the foreknowledge and implicit approval, if not direct complicity and urging of the United States government. Yeah, he stated that the FBI showed up in his rental house before. So yeah. Anyway, let's see. So it'll be interesting to see where that all goes. But he's a medium-sized fish. The big fish they really want is Musk. So I think this whole story with Pavel Durov was to put the fear of God in Elon Musk, if you ask me, because now there are calls for, or at least from other leaders of other so-called countries, for Musk's arrest. So not just Brazil that we mentioned earlier, but others. Oh, here's the Tucker interview that we played a piece of last week on this show. So anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens to old Durov there, but interesting things unfolding for sure. ReclaimTheNet.org judge rules X's lawsuit against Media Matters can proceed. X accuses Media Matters of fabricating evidence to mislead advertisers, claiming substantial revenue loss due to the alleged manipulation. Yeah, Media Matters is seriously bad news. But anyway, they're saying that the lawsuit can proceed, so that'll be interesting. From Brexit to Trump, Brazil's uses rise of populism to justify the X ban. Brazil uses the rise of populism to justify the X ban. Justice Moraes' controversial shutdown of X ignites fears of digital censorship and global free speech erosion ahead of Brazil's pivotal 2024 elections. You can bet Bolsonaro won't be running in that one. Google is tightening its grip on the web, shaping narratives one search at a time, streamlining search or stifling independent voices. I would say it's a little bit more of that last thing. Danish justice minister under fire for pushing encryption ban while using it. Denmark's push to block encrypted apps fuels debate over privacy versus surveillance, with critics calling out the hypocrisy of those in power. So it's okay if they keep using it, but they're going to try and ban it. But my guess is they'll still keep using it. EU tightens the grip on Telegram with new probe following France arrest. More pressure to comply with censorship laws. Yep. No free speech for you. Memes under fire. Democrats push to muzzle political satire with Grok AI. Grok is the AI that's built into Twitter X, if you didn't know. Lawmakers clash over AI-generated political memes. So there will be no more comedy either. No free speech, no comedy, no satire, and no memes. That's where it's headed. Brazil says Supreme Court judge orders X to be banned, threatens citizens with fines if they use a VPN. Which we already showed our little cartoon here as to the way that's all unfolding. All right. So the Liberty Beacon. Globalists are trying to escalate the Ukraine war into World War III before the U.S. election. Tell me something I don't know, right? The purpose of NATO involvement in the Ukraine war has, to me, this is Brandon Smith, I guess, the article writer, always appeared obvious. Ukraine has nothing to do with the interests of the Western public, nothing to do with the security of Europe, and nothing to do with the economic advancement of the United States. Yet, NATO and the globalists have been politically interfering with the region, since at least 2014 and preparing the ground for an eventual war with Russia, which is why they started all of that back in 2014. To be clear, I don't favor Russia any more than I favor Ukraine. The Kremlin has long had its own ties to the globalists, as I've outlined in numerous articles. How deep those ties go is up for debate. Maybe the honeymoon is over and Russia is truly done trying to get a seat at the globalist table. What I do know is that the Western elites want a world war, and they have done everything in their power to start one. I don't think they've done everything. I think they're going to do even more. I think they're going to actually attack Russia. The dominoes seem to be in place for that. Says they get a scapegoat for the economic collapse they've already set into motion. They multiply the global fear factor and make the public desperate for the political elites to step in and solve all their problems. Beyond that, they also get an opportunity to send young men who might rebel off to the meat grinder in Ukraine so that there's no new generation of freedom fighters to deal with. Yeah, there's that, I guess. Popular support for monetary and military aid in Ukraine is waning quickly, and Ukraine knows they're about to lose. The Kursk offensive looks like an act of desperation triggered by this reality. Yes, it does. And pretty much everyone on the Ukrainian side who's in this Kursk invasion has been slaughtered by the Russians. So, anyways, yeah, that's more to the Russia-Ukraine World War III starting story. Musk, censorship of X is a certainty if Kamala wins. Yeah, for sure. I'm surprised that it hasn't happened under Biden, honestly. Musk has warned Americans that if Democrats win in November, censorship of the platform is a certainty, which is another reason for them to rig the election or not have an election. I do think, though, that if they have World War III or whatever they're going to do to stop the election, the next thing that they will do, either right before or right after that, will be install Kamala as president. Biden will step down, and she will be sworn in. That's my guess. If they're going to make sure there's no elections, they want her in power permanently. That's what I think. Just in my analysis of the situation. So anyway, this is more here about what we already know, but yep, censorship of X is a certainty. I would say censorship of everything is a certainty if Harris gets in there. Tim Walz's brother slams VP candidate. So there's Jeff Walz, the guy I mentioned earlier. So this is more on the the battle of the brothers here. The eldest brother of Democrat VP candidate Tim Walz threw his sibling under the bus in a series of Friday night Facebook posts, saying he isn't the type of character Americans would want in high office, and cryptically referring to stories he could tell that would hammer home the point. Yes, going back to the horse story. Feel free to look it up if you want. I ain't reporting on it. But, yeah. We've just become a third world banana republic, says the brother of the VP candidate. So there's quite a bit here, actually, on this Liberty Beacon article, more than I mentioned earlier, if you want to have a look at that. Let's see. Just look at some of the headlines here on RT.com. I thought this was interesting and sad. Putin's spy whale. Did you know Putin had a spy whale? I had no idea. Has been found dead in Norway. So they've already taken the whale out, apparently. It couldn't get to Putin, but they got to his whale. The One Whale organization, which had observed Vladimir for years, insists he was perfectly healthy with no signs of illness. So he either died from the or someone took him out because they knew he was working for Putin. So it looks like a beluga whale, too. Yeah, they are very lovely creatures. Let's see. Ukrainian F-16 crash, probably not friendly fire, New York Times says. No, it was. We'll look at that in a minute. But, yeah, the F-16 that one of the F-16s the Americans gave to the Ukrainians got shot down by their own missiles the other day. Man tasered at Trump rally. The offender tried to climb into the event's press area despite heightening security following the July's attempted assassination. So here he is getting tased. Didn't look like they knew how to work the taser. Look, that guy is smashing it into his ribs and doesn't look like it's really doing much to him. Woman goes on stabbing spree on a German bus. Okay. My guess is it might not have been a native German, but I could be wrong. Brazil bans X. ICC orders Asian country to arrest Putin. Mongolia has obligations under the Rome Statute, the International Court has said. So if Putin goes to Mongolia, it will be, the jig will be up, I guess. EU rejects Maduro's democratic legitimacy, top diplomat says. Top left-wing German MP attacked. So something thrown at her, it looks like. Nuclear inspectors forced to hide from drone attacks. Nord Stream sabotage, how Western media outlets do their government's dirty works. And there's lots of dirty works. Yeah, anyway, quite a bit here on this section of RT. It's just the world news section on RT.com. Nancy Pelosi admits she's a cold-blooded reptilian. We played that clip last week. Australian scientist finds missing Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 by searching where the FBI told him not to. An Australian scientist has announced the mystery of missing Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 has been solved more than 10 years after it vanished without a trace on March 8, 2014, with 239 people on board. I hadn't seen this article, so let's take a look at this. Disappearance of the plane en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing prompted the largest aviation search and rescue operation in history, where it was drawn to a close 3 years later in January 2017 without success. However, according to an Australian scientist, Vincent Lin, who works at the University of Tasmania's Institute for Marine and Antarctic Studies, the plane has been located in the perfect hiding place, quote unquote, a deep 6,000-meter trench at the eastern end of the Broken Ridge in the southern Indian Ocean. The FBI advised against searching this location during the original search in the aftermath of the crash. They said, don't look there. So, who knows? I don't know if I buy that, but that's what this guy's saying. Notorious pedophile who abducted and molested a 9-year-old girl from a supermarket has been killed in a head-on collision car crash while fleeing the NYPD. Wow. Instant karma, I guess. It's probably semi-instant karma for this guy. Mayor of Aurora, Colorado, says Biden regime behind the Venezuelan invasion. The mayor said that. Interesting. You'd think that would be a Democrat. Why would he do that? Anyway, that is on People's Voice. PeoplesVoice.tv. Information Liberation, The Guardian. Regulators around the world should threaten Musk with arrest. See how they're ramping this up even more and more. America's tiniest tyrant, Robert Reich, has a new column in The Guardian calling on regulators around the world to threaten Elon Musk with arrest for allowing too much free speech. Yeah, Robert Reich. I always think of Rush Limbaugh, how he used to say that guy's name. Robert Reich was part of the Bill Clinton administration. They were buds. He's still around, and he's still up to his own anti-free speech antics. Harris pledges unwavering commitment to Israel and no policy changes in CNN interview. I'm sure CNN believes her wholeheartedly, right? Universities unveil new rules to ban anti-Israel protests, classify criticism of Zionists as hate speech. So you can't say anything about the Zionists. You have to go along with everything they say. Telegram founder Durov charged with a wide range of crimes in France, barred from leaving. I'd heard that he'd gotten out on bail, but I don't know if that's true. I haven't really seen any articles about that. U.S. to spend record $454 million securing mostly Jewish institutions. So it's just $454 million. $500 million. Not a big deal. Securing religious organizations, but only the mostly Jewish ones. Take that for what it's worth. Anyway, those are on informationliberation.com. And then, speaking of Israel, Tel Aviv becomes center of nationwide protests demanding immediate hostage deal. Hundreds of thousands gather in Tel Aviv in mass protest demanding an immediate hostage deal before more hostages are killed by Hamas. Yeah, and my guess is Bibi probably wasn't there. No, they want to string him up. They do not like him. Anyway, that's on Jerusalem Post, believe it or not. And then I found this. I haven't actually watched it, but maybe you guys have seen it or heard of it. This recent article from Health Ranger Mike Adams with Michael Yon and this other guy says Michael Yon gives urgent global collapse update on decentralized TV. Michael's urgent message in global concerns, predictions in global famine, foreign elites and globalist interests, spiritual war and national suicide, RFK Jr. and political strategies, U.S. military prep and global famine, Israel and Zionist agenda, Ireland and globalist influence, preparation and resilience, and final thoughts. So that is this particular video that's over on Brighteon, which is a good platform. We've got the Diamond Report on Brighteon and have had for years. So anyway, I found that and thought you guys might want to check that out. And like all the articles I mentioned tonight and the videos I show and stuff, those will be linked to in the Substack posts. So make sure you guys are on there. And the link for that is in the upper right corner up there, right up there. The black box says diamonddisk.substack.com. All right, we're looking at serious civil unrest regardless who wins. Martin Armstrong fears post-election chaos. So I did see an interview with him, although it wasn't this particular one. This one here is with Greg Hunter of USA Watchdog, who's really great. I like Greg a lot. Let's see. It says, if there's a big war, the U.S. will default on its debt. I am very concerned they will start World War III before the end of the year and maybe by September, which would be now. So, yeah, September is always a key month. September's a fun month for the powers that be to do their dirty deeds oftentimes. So, yeah, watch for something big to happen this month. And it always does, it seems like, in September. It's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel, as they say. It's kind of a given. Not too hard to predict that. Russia refining nuclear doctrine, Lavrov says. Sergei Lavrov. Western officials are behaving like unruly kids playing with matches. Yeah, except these matches can kill all of us. Moscow is refining its nuclear doctrine in the face of Western policies which appear to be intentionally geared towards escalation. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said. His comments come as Ukraine is urging Western arms donors to greenlight the use of their weapons for long-range strikes deep inside Russia. On Tuesday, Lavrov said Moscow is interpreting those requests as a distraction from the West's own role in ratcheting up tensions with Russia. This is a ruse. The West does not want to avoid escalation. The West is, as they say, asking for trouble. So he is exactly right. They are wanting it so that they can make sure millions of us are killed. That means you and me and all of our families. They're totally fine with that. They have their bunkers, you know. They'll be just fine. But yeah, this policy will be interesting to see. It says that Russia's nuclear doctrine allows the deployment of the weapons in retaliation for a first strike by the enemy, or when the existence of the Russian nation state is at risk. The government has indicated in recent months that the key document may be altered in the face of what it perceives as an existential threat posed to Russia by NATO. Yeah, this is a first strike situation. So if they believe that the U.S. or NATO is going to prevent Russia from existing, then they're saying that they can have a first strike against NATO countries. I believe that's what's going on here. It says U.S. reportedly intends to significantly increase its deployment of nuclear weapons after existing limitations under a bilateral reduction treaty with Russia expire in February 2026. A roadmap for that was reportedly approved by Biden in March in the classified nuclear employment guidance. The U.S. media has claimed the policy change was guided by a desire to compete with China. Sure. Arrest of Telegram founder reveals the real totalitarians are Western countries, not Russia. Pope Francis says rejecting migrant hordes is a grave sin, quote unquote. Well, I think me and you are definitely sinners then, according to Pope Francis. Because I reject the whole notion of the migrant hordes. I'm sure you guys do as well. That's on naturalnews.com and then leohoman.com. Why did Zuck come clean on his collusion with the feds to silence the voices of conservative Americans? Yeah, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but this did happen recently. Zuckerberg says he suddenly regrets that his company Meta bowed to the Biden regime's pressure to censor content on Facebook, saying in a letter that the interference was wrong and he plans to push back if it happens again. Shall we take him seriously? Is this a genuine mea culpa? I would say no. He's worried about his own skin, perhaps. According to an article in Politico, Zuckerberg aired his grievances in a letter Monday to the House Judiciary Committee in response to its investigation into content moderation on online platforms. Zuck detailed how senior administration officials leaned on the company to censor certain posts about COVID-19, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration when the social media platform resisted. So what did he do? He didn't resist. So I don't know about you, but I don't believe that he'll push back. I think he will cave like he did just before. So during the whole COVID thing, he'll do anything he's told. He'll do anything he's paid to do because they will remind him of who pays him. Yeah. Anyway, that's on leohoman.com. And then we got 3 articles, posts from Wine Press News. California advances bill to provide zero down, no payment home loans for illegals. No payment. Home loans. Why is it a loan? It's a gift. Oregon tax-funded group gifts $30,000 to non-U.S. citizens to buy homes. Isn't that nice of Oregon? California and Oregon are looking for ways to subsidize housing for undocumented Americans and illegals, not registered American citizens, which has drawn plenty of ire online as Americans are forced to deal with a severe home affordability crisis with no breaks given to them. Yeah, where they're the citizens, and citizens get nothing. Well, except jail. There's your new home, right? Especially if you want free speech. Starting in California earlier this week, the California Senate Appropriations Committee advanced a bill that would allow illegal aliens to take advantage of the state's zero-down, no-payment home loan program. I think it's $150,000. Yeah, this year, 18,000 individuals applied for the $255 million loan program through a lottery, leaving 1,700 lucky winners with up to $150,000 each towards down payment and closing costs. Anyway, and then Oregon's doing the same thing on a smaller scale. It's been revealed Oregon-based taxpayer-funded group called Hacienda CDC. How about that name? Hacienda CDC is currently providing non-citizens a $30,000 home assistance loan for new home buyers through a program that they call Camino a Casa. It's a gift. They're giving it to them because they know they'll never be able to repay it. They have no money and they're not working. They're on government programs. So how could they possibly pay it? Anyway, that's on Wine Press. And then this one, top 15 world defense contractors set to earn record profits more than they know what to do with, banking on more war. With no real end in sight to world conflicts, the top largest aerospace and defense contractors are primed to rake in record profits over the next several years. According to a new report by the Financial Times, the leading 15 defense contractors are forecast to log free cash flow of $52 billion in 2026. So almost double their combined cash flow at the end of 2021. So if you want to get rich, be in the defense contractors business, right? Because war is what they are betting on, and war is what we will get. That's all you need to know, really, right there. That's where the money's going. Here's the stocks. Here's the companies we're talking about. Lockheed Martin, which is, as Dane would say, neck deep in geoengineering patents. And Raytheon, same thing. Raytheon is number 2 here. General Dynamics, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and then several others listed here. So anyway, yeah, the money being made in the defense contractor business. And then Elon Musk is building the world's largest supercomputer in Tennessee. Causes concern with locals. I looked to see where this was, and it's in Oak Ridge, believe it or not. It's where they build nuclear bombs. At least they were doing nuclear work there. I guess they still are. When completed, the XAI computer may surpass the size of its current leader, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Frontier, nearly 400 miles away in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So yeah, AI is going to become the world's new default tool for automation and information, and computers that run it are going to need power and a lot of it. Which, as I mentioned last week, that's something Trump's out there talking about left and right now. Got to have more power for the AI. And I think we do need to have more power, but not for AI. So let's see here. I'm looking to see if it's indeed Oak Ridge. This is mentioning Memphis. In the meantime, residents have raised concerns about the local environmental impacts of its energy requirements. Up to 150 megawatts are enough to power around 100,000 homes in a county where climate vulnerability is extremely high. Climate vulnerability. Yeah, it says Memphis. A 750,000 square foot vacant manufacturing plant in southwest Memphis. So it's going in Memphis. Currently building what could be the world's largest supercomputer. So not quantum computer, but supercomputer. Different thing. Local utility company Memphis Light, Gas, and Water claims project will create more than 300 new high-paying jobs, probably also going to the illegals, and result in approximately $500,000 of annual pilot payments to the city. So Memphis, that's what we're talking about here. Wow. Very strange. Supercomputer in Memphis. Maybe they'll put it next to Graceland. I've been to Graceland, by the way. I don't know if you guys have. It's Pretty interesting. And this one, who's running the country? Biden spends his 16th straight day on vacation, lounging on the beach. Because his job's so hard. He's literally a beach bum. 81-year-old Biden is pretty much checked out since he dropped out of the presidential race. Looks like Jill has too. He spent his 16th straight day on vacation, lounging on the beach in Delaware. Biden has spent a total of 532 days, which is 40.3% of his presidency on vacation, with no visitor logs. Anyway, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. 532 days on vacation during the last 3 or 4 years. Wild stuff. All right. Wicked. New Hampshire Supreme Court rules that schools can keep their parents in the dark about their children's gender transitions. New Hampshire Supreme Court has upheld a Manchester school district policy that allows schools to keep parents in the dark about their children's gender transitions. How about that? This ruling, which flies in the face of fundamental parenting rights, sends a dangerous message that schools can prioritize the so-called rights of students over the rights of parents to know and participate in their children's lives. Which is the whole point, isn't it? Get them into the pedophile mafia as quick as possible. All of them. Court's decision comes as part of the case Jane Doe versus Manchester School District, where the justices concluded that the policy does not infringe on parental rights. No, it's fine. You don't want to be a parent anyway. You don't know what's best. And it's this guy. So, the court dismissed parents' claim in a closely scrutinized 3-1 decision under the leadership of this guy, Gordon MacDonald, concluding that the policy did not violate a fundamental right and did not require strict scrutiny because it had survived a rational basis review. So they say. Anyway, I have my doubts on that one. I'm pretty sure you guys do too. California insanity. State, Senate, and Assembly pass law requiring hiring of illegal alien students. So back to Gavin Newsom again. California has cemented itself as a cultural Marxist haven by passing a law in the Senate and State Assembly requiring public universities statewide to hire illegals. Requiring public universities. Now it's up to the infamous Gavin Newsom to stop or sign off on the bill. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen. Yeah, there is no chance that he would stop it. He probably was out there cheering it on the whole time. First American sent F-16 fighter destroyed in Ukraine, killing the veteran pilot. Kiev source suggests the plane was struck by friendly fire from a Patriot air defense system. What I mentioned a little while ago. So, it says, awaited since May 2023, the F-16 fighter planes were the last in a series of wonder weapons that were expected to turn the tide of the war in Ukraine, but did not. I think they were older planes, by the way. I think they were old. While it's shocking in itself that the much-awaited plane would be destroyed in its very first mission, when we investigated how it could have happened, it becomes even more disturbing. No, it's the Keystone Cops running this whole organization, if you ask me. The incident occurred during the August 26th mass air raid over Ukraine, where geranium drones and a variety of missiles, including supersonic Kinzhals, brought destruction to all regions of Ukraine. The Russian Federation sources claim the plane was hit on the ground during refueling, probably preparing to scramble out of harm's way. Ukrainian sources, for their part, claim it crashed while on a flight trying to bring down attacking drones. Some outlying claims have the fighter shot down in an ambush by Russian Su-57. So they don't know. Doesn't sound like they know what's going on. What everyone seems to agree on is that the F-18's crash is F-18. This says F-16. Well, F-18's crash or otherwise means of destruction killed veteran Ukrainian pilot, this guy. Oleski. But what seems to be most disturbing is a version of the events floated by a Ukrainian deputy. It says, according to my information, the F-16 of the Ukrainian pilot, squadron commander, Alexei Moonfish Mess, was shot down by a Patriot air defense missile system due to a lack of coordination between units. The reports noted that he lost control. So according to this, the Ukrainians shot their own plane down, which was a gift from the U.S. Meanwhile, the Russians are probably cracking up at how ridiculous the whole thing is. Disabled veterans cited for liquid littering after blowing bubbles. Blowing bubbles. Liquid littering. You ever heard of that? Me neither. In California, the bubble pirate found himself being treated like a true criminal after attempting to bring joy to children at a California public park. It's a public park. Sandy, how about this name? Sandy Snakenberg, a 63-year-old disabled homeless vet and self-styled bubbleologist, was only blowing bubbles when he was sighted on August 24th in San Diego's La Jolla Cove. Rangers with San Diego Parks and Recreation cited Snakenberg with liquid littering. That's right. In California, a wonderland where the streets are paved with the fecal matter and used needles of the burgeoning homeless class, a bubble-blowing disabled vet is the one being nailed for littering. The city, of course, claims the bubble pirates' crimes are worse than they appear. Of course they do. Says in this instance, the city spokesperson told KGTV park rangers attempted to educate the individuals numerous times that the residual substances from the bubbles are in violation of the city's municipal code as it relates to littering. So the stuff that is left by from the soap, I guess. I don't know. The individual uses up to 6 gallons of liquid per day, with the residual chemicals ending up in the lawn areas, which can cause damage to the grass. After witnessing numerous violations and receiving complaints from other park users, rangers issued the lowest level citation available. The city claims it received complaints from the public about Snakenberg and the residue from his bubble solution. So why don't they just get him a different bubble solution that doesn't have the chemicals? How about that? Anyway, despite his status as an injured and homeless vet, Snakenberg says what a name. Snakenberg says he doesn't use programs available to him, instead supporting himself solely on his 501c3 Bubble World. So he's in this video here, apparently. Maybe this is him. Snakenberg. If only Snakenberg had decided on a more appropriate activity in California, perhaps relieving himself on the sidewalk or throwing a used hypodermic needle into a playground, he could have avoided legal troubles entirely. Yeah, but he is a vet after all. I'm not sure a vet could do that. Yeah, bubbleologist. Yeah, SpongeBob. Yeah, like that, I guess. Anyways, very strange. It's a weird world. Hiker, this is a weird one too. A hiker is stranded on the mountain after 14 of his coworkers leave him and remove the path markers. This dude needs a new job. An office retreat to hike in Colorado's Mount Shavano might not have engendered the kind of team spirit outdoor bonding ventures are expected to produce. It's because a group of 15 hikers who'd begun their adventures on the morning of August 23rd reunited that evening. One of them was missing. Although efforts took place to find him, the lost hiker ended up spending the night on the mountain. The day began when the group split in two, heading for different locations on the mountain. WAPO reported that the Chaffee County Search and Rescue South said that the hiker who would end up on his own was in the group heading for the summit, but hiked at his own pace and lost the trail. Chaffee County Search and Rescue South posted on Facebook that the hiker's troubles began after the hiker reached the summit about 11:30 a.m. He became disoriented and also found that the hikers who had come before him had taken the trail markers with them after they descended from the summit, making the hikers' situation worse. The hiker went the wrong way, then reached out to his coworkers. The rescue group did not name the hiker or the company involved in the incident. Concerned for himself, he sent a pin drop to coworkers already descending. The coworkers informed him his route was wrong and to climb back up the slope to regain the trail. But they removed the markers. So they really did not like this guy. I don't think it was a prank, do you? Anyways, very strange. But I guess he was found. He reported being very disoriented on his descent and falling at least 20 times on the steep slopes. Rescue crews were able to reach the hiker after multiple teams responded to rescue him. He was taken to a hospital for treatment. Yeah, and then promptly over to find a new job right after that. Yeah, very strange. Weird stuff. I don't know what he did to make his entire group of people he worked with at the office mad at him, but something, I guess. They were going to leave him for dead. Another weird one. Speaking of offices and death, this has been a theme, I guess. Wells Fargo employee, Wells Fargo employee died at her desk, but the staff didn't notice until 4 days later. Not 4 hours, 4 days later. An investigation is underway after a 60-year-old Wells Fargo employee was left deceased at her desk for 4 entire days before she was discovered. Boy, she was popular too, wasn't she? Where was her family? Nobody noticed she was missing for 4 days? In what was presumably a typical day at the office, Denise Prudhomme scanned in for work around 7 a.m. on August 17th at Wells Fargo in Tempe, Arizona. However, she's believed to have died at some point during that day after she never scanned out of the premises. I guess nobody bothered to check. 4 days later, on-site security is understood to have found her in her cubicle, at which point they contacted the emergency services. Prudhomme was then pronounced dead at 16:55, but this is 4 days later. Cause of death has still not been determined. Oh, I bet you know why. I'm guessing. I certainly do. At least have my ideas. Although there are not to believe any signs of foul play. However, questions are now being asked about how she could possibly have gone unnoticed for so long. One worker, speaking to local media affiliate KPNX on the condition of anonymity, expressed her concern about the troubling situation. Says the body was found inside the Wells Fargo corporate office in Tempe. An associate who spoke with 12 News anonymously said the situation is troubling. To hear she's been sitting at the desk like that would make me feel sick, the worker said. And nobody did anything. That's how she spent her last moments. She probably had a heart attack. I mean, it could have been something else, but who knows? Another employee who spoke to 12 News anonymously said a colleague found Prudhomme dead at her desk in a cubicle while walking around the building. Her cubicle was reportedly on the 3rd floor and away from the main aisle. That employee said several people smelled a foul odor but passed it off as faulty plumbing. They said, while most employees at Wells Fargo office work remote, the building has 24/7 security and someone should have found Prudhomme sooner. That's the scary part. Yeah, and also keep in mind that no one in her family missed her either, so that is weird. What is going on? So, somebody dies and they're sitting at their desk for 4 days before it's figured out that something's not quite right. Very strange. Anyway, all right, let's see here. Truthandmedia.com. So I usually mention whatever the new video is here. This week's video is Israel's financial support for Hamas. I thought Israel was the victim. They are, right? I mean, is it Hamas just the baddies and Israel is the goodies, the good guys? Maybe not. Maybe not. But yes, they did support and found Hamas. U.S. Department of State leads the attack to kill free speech globally. Again with Blinken. We mentioned him at the beginning of the show here, but this is a repost, actually, of that same Technocracy News article by Patrick Wood. Is Elon next? So that's a video about talking about Durov. So yeah, that's basically the full expanded version of that technocracy.news article that I mentioned at the start of the show. Whether through Biden, Harris, or Trump, digital IDs are coming to America. Biden administration is considering an executive order for digital IDs, picking up where Trump's office, I guess, left off during his time in the White House. So very strange. A recently leaked draft of an executive order shows the Biden administration is considering expanding the required use of digital IDs to fight fraud, quote unquote. I'm adding the quotes. Fight fraud. Yeah, also keep in mind that they just, what was it? 35 billion Social Security names, addresses, phone numbers, all that stuff was just hacked, so supposedly, which means was let out on purpose so that they could, use that as another, supposed problem that they created as a reason to bring in this digital ID. I think it's all connected, don't you? Let's see. It says a move that has been criticized by privacy advocates and civil liberties organizations. Yeah, but they go along with it anyway. While Biden's plans pertain, his name's on it, but I don't think he had anything to do with it. Biden's plans pertain to infrastructure for digital driver's licenses. Similar moves were made by former President Trump under the guise of fighting illegal immigration. So they're going to try and get us one way or the other. Yes, but you don't need an ID for voting, do you? You need an ID to do anything else, to even walk down the sidewalk, but not for voting. So digital IDs, that's where it's headed. They're going to try and push this on as fast, I think, especially after whatever nuclear event they have planned. Digital IDs will be imposed. The draconian measures that will happen after whatever nuclear event that they have planned coming very soon, whatever it is, whether it's World War III or just one incident that's a one-off, I think will be that will move staggeringly fast. As far as the digital ID and the Mark of the Beast technology being fully implemented by that point. Just my hunch. GlobalResearch.ca, a couple articles from there. Video, a nuclear bunker buster bomb against Iran would initiate World War III on the drawing board of the Pentagon. The video below, produced in 2006 by the Union of Concerned Scientists in collaboration with the Pentagon, reveals the consequence of the use of a nuclear Earth-penetrating bomb in an attack on Iran. This is an important video production carefully documented by the UCS, the Union of Concerned Scientists. They're just concerned, but they do it anyway, notice. I should mention that the option to use bunker buster bombs against Iran is currently on the drawing board of the Pentagon, despite the fact that there is no evidence that Iran has stockpiled weapons of mass destruction in so-called bunkers, as conveyed in the video. Yes, but that won't stop them, will it? Didn't stop them in Iraq. Implied in the video montage is that Iran constitutes a WMD threat when, in fact, there's no evidence to that effect. The nuclear Earth-penetrating bomb, the NEPB, should be distinguished from the so-called tactical nuclear weapons, or mini-nukes, which are low yield. The simulation in the flash animation pertains to a 1 megaton bunker buster thermonuclear bomb with an explosive capacity of 60 times a Hiroshima bomb. Its use would result in millions of deaths and radioactive fallout extended eastwards into Pakistan and India. Wow. The Earth-penetrating technology is similar. And it goes on and on. Let's see. You guys want to watch this? I guess we can. I have not watched this, so I'm just kind of coming up on this article. Well, I found the article earlier, but I didn't read through it. So here it is. Let's take a look at this video here.
The U.S. wants to develop a new type of nuclear weapon, a nuclear Earth penetrator or bunker buster. This nuclear bomb, intended to destroy underground targets, would be useless against many bunkers. At the same time, it would produce massive amounts of radioactive fallout and potentially kill millions of civilians. The nuclear bomb, dropped by an airplane, would only penetrate a few meters into the ground, too shallow to contain the nuclear blast or the large cloud of radioactive fallout. The nuclear radiation could spread more than 1,000 miles. If the United States used a single weapon with a 1 megaton yield against the Esfahan nuclear facility in Iran, for example, the deadly radioactive fallout would spread to Pakistan, Afghanistan, and India. In this simulation, based on a model developed by the Pentagon, over 3 million people would be killed as a result of the attack, and 35 million people would be exposed to significant cancer-causing radiation. To destroy buried targets, the seismic shock wave produced by the bomb would need to reach the bunker. However, a 1 megaton nuclear bomb with 60 times the power of the Hiroshima weapon could only destroy bunkers within about 1,000 feet of the explosion. Very deep bunkers can be built with modern tunneling equipment, and the United States is unlikely to know the exact location of bunkers, even if it knows the entry points. A nuclear weapon would also be ineffective at sterilizing underground stockpiles of chemical or biological weapons unless it detonates very close to the target. This is because the heat and radiation from a nuclear explosion do not travel far underground. If the weapon doesn't destroy the stockpile, the explosion is likely to spread active chemical or biological agents into the environment, in addition to the radiation. A more sensible way to deal with the military challenge posed by underground bunkers is to use precision conventional weapons to attack all entrances and exits to the bunker. This would keep chemical or biological stocks sealed underground and prevent enemy personnel from entering or exiting the facility.
So anyway, yep, just going to kill a few million people and give cancer to, 30 to 50 million people or whatever the number was. 35 million. Yep, not a big deal. Not according to these people anyway. Wow. What an unbelievable nightmare. So anyway, that is on Global Research is where this one is. globalresearch.ca. And then this one is to a NATO invasion of nuclear Russia is currently underway, and the world is unaware that it is in World War III. Has President Putin's patience reached its limits? So let's see. Kursk region of Russia is currently full of NATO weapons, troops, logistics, and more. Many of them destroyed. Yeah, they've really killed a lot of people. It says video footage comes out of dozens of NATO vehicles, air defense systems, tanks, and more, even if destroyed and captured by Russian forces in the Kursk region. Kiev forces of about 11,600 under the guidance of NATO troops have not managed to conquer the city of Kurchatov and its nuclear power plant. Apparently, Zelensky used all of Kiev's remaining troops, plus extra Polish NATO forces. Wow, yeah, and they're getting killed left and right. It says Kiev's losses are more than 2,000. I think it's way more than that even. I've heard a lot larger numbers, but no way to verify that, of course. Anyway, that one's also on Global Research. All right, I thought this was pretty interesting, just looking at what employees versus employers, how employees really have no idea what employers go through at times. These salon workers were floored by how much the owner of the salon pays in payroll taxes. Do you even realize how much of your money the government steals? Salon owner reveals that she paid $272,000 in payroll taxes over the past 3 years. Payroll taxes. So it's pretty interesting to see their faces. I guess it's worth a watch. Let's do that.
So we're going to take a guess. Who can guess within the last 3 years how much I have had to pay payroll taxes to just be able to pay you guys, which are all worth it. But this is an issue. How much do you think I've paid in payroll taxes? It's just a tax that I pay to pay you guys, if that makes sense.
In 3 years?
In the last 3 years.
Oh, 3 years.
In the last 3
I'm
years.
gonna say 60,000. I think 80,000.
I said 100,000.
I'm gonna go 85. I think 90.
Okay. You want to weigh in, Liana?
What?
How much do you think in the last 3 years I've had to pay in payroll taxes?
That's what I do. 45,000.
Okay. Are you all ready?
No.
Drum roll.
Really high.
You want to guess? 1,000? $272,000 to the U.S. government just to pay people that you will also pay your taxes on as well. And then when you go to buy something, you will also be taxed on the item that you are purchasing.
I feel awful.
No, don't. You're also, and then you get paid, and then your paycheck's half of that because you're also paying taxes. And then when you go to purchase something, you will be paying taxes.
And we pay for the same thing.
The U.S. dollar is taxed 1 million times before it even ends up in someone's name. So
We used to go to war for taxes.
no taxation without representation.
I could buy a house with that.
Yep, me too.
No wonder.
Anyways,
taxes.
love you all.
272 grand in payroll taxes over the last 3 years. That is unbelievable. But yes, for the privilege of having employees do the work that you can't do all yourself. And I would say as a self-employed person, it also extends to self-employed people. You don't have a payroll tax, but you do have a self-employment tax. Yes, it is a complete scam. You're right. The whole thing. Especially when you realize that they don't even need the tax dollars. They just print the money. They just print whatever they need. And the tax dollars are used to keep us down. To keep us enslaved. Anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting. They had no idea. All right, let's see here. A couple articles from InfoWars. Kamala Harris trying to back out of the debate with Trump after disastrous CNN interview. Harris's condemnation of Trump's visit to Arlington also majorly backfire after Gold Star families issue scathing statement defending Trump and lambasting her over her role in the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Yeah, so she says she's chickening out of her upcoming debate. So we'll see if that actually happens or not. Who knows? Who knows? So that's one of the articles from InfoWars. And in this one, Pelosi claims Kamala won an open primary despite not receiving a single vote. Yeah, it was about as close as it gets. She was anointed. There was nothing open about it. But again, they gaslight. That's all they know how to do. Anybody could have gotten in, she wrapped it up. Oh, unless your name was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., so maybe not anybody. You'd have to give her credit for that, House Speaker says. Former House Speaker Pelosi falsely claimed Harris won an open primary despite the fact she didn't earn a single vote upon becoming the Democrats' presidential nominee. Pretty funny. But yeah, you're free to vote however you want as long as you vote for Kamala. And they didn't have to do that. They just anointed her. I thought this was... Wow. This was another really strange thing that happened. Top NFL draft pick shot during attempted robbery in San Francisco. Teen suspect arrested for shooting 49ers rookie during broad daylight robbery attempt. First-round NFL draft pick was shot in the chest by a teen suspect during an attempted armed robbery in California just days ahead of the 2024 season opener. I guess his season is probably over already. The shocking incident unfolded just after 3:30 yesterday in downtown San Francisco. Ricky Pearsall, a rookie wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, had just finished signing autographs at a local event before heading to Union Square. Pearsall was confronted on a busy sidewalk by an armed thief, and during an ensuing struggle, a firearm was discharged multiple times. Responding officers encountered two wounded males at the scene, including the suspect and Pearsall, who had been shot in the chest. Now, This is the crazy thing, I think. And yes, football players are tough. I think hockey players are way tougher. But if you want to see how tough this guy is, look at this. This is crazy. I'm going to play this video. I'll just talk over it because it's really just footage. It's not really anything to hear. But you can see him. He's still walking around. He's been shot. He's still walking around and slowly heading toward the ambulance. Not panicking. With, I guess, apparently blood pouring out of him right there. In his upper right area of his chest. Just sitting down like he's just going to lay back in a chair on the beach. No, he's bent over a little bit. Obviously, he's in pain. But they don't have him covered up. They're not like treating this. It doesn't seem to me like a medical situation. They are, but they're not. You know what I mean? Like, they just put him on a stretcher and they let him walk over there and put him on the stretcher and then roll him in. He's not covered up or anything. I just thought that whole thing was really bizarre. Another strange story. This one was a shooting, I guess, but that was pretty strange, I thought. But yeah, tough guys. Just gets shot and goes casually walking over to the ambulance and gets in. But I would say that his career this year is probably going to have to be put on hold. Just a guess. I found this meme and thought it was pretty funny. Here, let me see if I can get it zoomed to a level where you can see it better. There you go. Democrat voter registration. You can see him dropping in the new guys. Yep, that's pretty much how it works. Modernity.news, Democrats trying to censor AI-created memes before the election. Ahead of the election in November, Democrats in the House are attempting to have the FEC issue rules to enable censorship of images created specifically by Grok, the AI developed by Elon Musk's X. In other words, they want to eradicate memes they don't like. That's because the left can't meme. We already know this. Democrat House members are now pressuring the FEC to issue new rules to censor Musk's new Grok 2 AI art generator before the election. Let me be clear, the First Amendment is not optional. I'll never support shutting down political speech online, including your memes, this guy, Sean Cooksey, says. So yeah, and what I thought was funny about this, you can't really see the whole picture, but obviously that's supposed to be Kamala, but the computer, AI, thinks that Kamala is blacker than she actually is. If Kamala looked like this, she probably could be passed off as a black person. But she doesn't look like this. But AI thinks she does. So somebody's been lying to AI. That's my whole point here. There's the real Kamala, who looks nothing like that. That looks like Big Mike, in a way. Looks more like Big Mike than it does Kamala. Says, I don't understand the problem. It's pretty funny. So that's the meme. Anyways, yep, they try to outlaw what they can't do. Pretty funny. So there's more to the story on modernity.news. And let's have a look at the headlines on vaccineimpact.com. Israel attacks refugee camps in the West Bank, threatens Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem as tensions escalate. So they really want to rebuild the temple. They really want to get rid of that old pesky mosque that's in their way. We'll see if they do it. I don't know. I personally have thought that it will be an earthquake that will take down the mosque or make it in a way that it will be, quote, from God. It will be God's... They'll at least blame God for probably the use of a tectonic weapon that damages the mosque in such a way that they have to tear it down so they can build their temple. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could be any of the above, but they definitely want to get rid of that old mosque there, huh, don't they? Is your home Wi-Fi revealing your location to be stored in big tech databases? Tips for staying anonymous on the internet. This next article we're going to look at a little closer. If World War III breaks out, it wouldn't be contained in Europe, Russia says. Yep. And then free speech issue, Telegram founder with more than 100 biological children. That's true. He's admitted to that. Accused of protecting child sex traffickers, which is why they have him arrested, supposedly. But no, he just doesn't want to play ball with the intelligence agencies. Western culture has abandoned wisdom and replaced it with science. Ignore the advice of scientists if you want to live long. Like this lady. I guess. She's 116. Man, in Japan. Lady in Japan. Yeah, so those are the articles on vaccineimpact.com, the headlines at least. And then GeoWatch for August 31st, which was Saturday. Unusual weather leads to summer snowfall in western mountains of U.S. That's from AP News. Several feet of hail falls in Colorado in only 15 minutes. That's a headline from Newsweek. Scientists warn grocery shelves may soon be missing pantry staple foods. That is a headline from Yahoo News. Global food production is being limited by a lack of pollinators. That's a headline from EcoWatch. Climate intervention operations are inseparable from these equations. Latest installment of Global Alert News is below. RFK Jr. has now made his voice heard in the battle to expose and halt climate engineering and has added yet more momentum to the rapidly rising awareness of global weather warfare operations. Thank you, RFK Jr., for the courage you have shown by announcing, quote, "We are going to stop this crime," end quote, which I mentioned earlier. That is what he tweeted out in response to something on X. So, and then there's a link to the article and video interview of Mr. Dane Wigington with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from about a year and a few months ago. Again, with over 1 million views. Definitely well worth the watch if you haven't seen that. So yeah, he definitely schools him. He educates him on geoengineering and what it is and what it's not and all of that. So good stuff. And then let's see. The scheduled weather for this week. Well, it's going to cool off. Last week it was hot. This week it's going to be cool. So it's a flip-flop, literally, of last time, with heat in the west and cool in the east, which this is the kind of the standard way that we tend to see the temperatures in the scheduled weather, at least in the U.S., with the eastern half of the U.S. staying cooler than the west. That's very normal now. But of course, it's all geoengineered. It's all chemical ice nucleation and they use weather. They use moisture from the Gulf to cool down the eastern half of the U.S. It's usually not even as big as the area that you see there on the map. But this is for September 7th through 11th. So we will see, but if you live in the eastern half of the U.S., it's going to be a little cooler than it's been. It's been in the 100-degree range for us most of the week where I am. Pretty warm. But again, it's going to flip-flop, it looks like. All right, Israel 365 News found this article. Rare stone seal, you can see it there, from First Temple period, discovered in Jerusalem. An extremely rare, unusual stone seal from the First Temple period. There's a good close-up of it. About 2,700 years ago, bearing a name inscribed in Paleo-Hebrew script, and a winged figure was discovered near the southern wall of the Temple Mount. The southern wall of the Temple Mount is where it was discovered, near it. So next to the Roman fortress, right? Fort Antonia. In the Davidson Archaeological Garden, during the excavations conducted by the Israel Antiquities Authority and the City of David organization. Yeah, a winged creature, huh? Looks almost Egyptian, if you ask me. So yeah, a seal. The object, which was engraved with mirror writing, served its owner both as an amulet and for legally signing documents and certificates. It has a convex cut on either side and a hole drilled through its length so that it could be strung onto a chain and worn around the neck. In its center, a figure is depicted in profile, possibly a king with wings, wearing a long striped shirt and striding towards the right. The figure has a mane of long curls covering the nape of the neck, and on his head is a hat or a crown. The figure raises one arm forward with an open palm, perhaps to suggest some object that it's holding. On both sides of the figure is an inscription. It's engraved in Paleo Hebrew script. I'm not sure what that means. Probably says what that script means, but I don't see it. Anyways, and there's a video. There's a video embedded here as well. So yeah, it's found near the Roman fortress area there. They're calling it the Temple Mount, but of course it's Fort Antonia, as we've mentioned many times on this show. But yeah, pretty interesting. Russia says that Ukraine to give Russia an ultimatum. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is because this is something that I've mentioned before, not just tonight, as far as the goings on between Russia and Ukraine and the threats and so forth going back and forth, in particular from Ukraine and NATO. It says from Ukraine's non-president, because his term expired quite a while ago now, I think it was back in May, Zelensky, a new Ukrainian ballistic missile will hit something very important in Moscow, then Russia will be given an ultimatum: either leave Ukraine or will destroy Moscow and St. Petersburg. Now, this is something that was reported by Hal on HalTurnerRadioShow.com on August 28th, so just a few days ago, last week. But interesting that he's talking about Moscow and St. Petersburg. That's what Zelensky mentioned specifically. And where have you heard that before? Well, if you've been a follower of this show for a while, it's something that I've talked about for about the last year and a half. Off and on, I put out this, what I'm calling the End Times Events timeline that's not set to any sort of dates. It's more set to events. Different events happening in different triggered situations. And you'll notice the first top post-it note things here that I have. World War III starts. False flag. NATO enters Ukraine and Russia conflict officially. Nuclear exchange. Russia hit, ? Moscow and St. Petersburg. So that's something that I mentioned on this program a year and a half ago. And that is something Hal is reporting on last week. That Ukraine is threatening to attack or hit Moscow and St. Petersburg to destroy them, or to at least hit them, if they don't leave Ukraine. So that's the ultimatum that was being mentioned. I thought that was very interesting that something that I had said that long ago is now coming to be front and center, more or less, in the back and forth between Russia and Ukraine. The ultimatum. So who knows if they'll actually carry out any of this stuff, but the point is they're at least threatening it. So I think it's very interesting and super scary. So anyway, not that I want that to happen. I'm just saying, man, something's going on. And I do believe that this is probably a likely scenario for some of the way that some of these things could unfold in the coming weeks and months ahead. So we can go through this. I guess we could. I've mentioned it here and there, and it's still early enough in the evening. We could go through this a little bit, I suppose. World War III starts. False flag. NATO enters Ukraine-Russia conflict officially. Nuclear exchange. Russia hit Moscow and St. Petersburg. The reason I say that is because I don't think that Putin, given his very sensible approach of this whole thing, and patience with not having issued any sorts of other attacks other than, within Ukraine itself, which, that was to beat them back and keep them out of the Donbass primarily. He's been very patient, but I do think that obviously if Moscow or St. Petersburg's hit, he will be forced and will certainly retaliate at that point, which is kind of what I'm saying on the next step here. Nuclear exchange, U.S. hit. New York City, D.C., East Coast, and Babylon, which is what's talked about in Revelation 18. So, and I've got that scripture pulled up here. Revelation 18, Babylon has fallen. Talks about the fire, talks about the doom of Babylon. It just, and I did more of an in-depth study on one of the End Times Dates episodes on Revelation 18 and how it is, to me, pointing towards a city, not just the U.S. as a whole. I think it's pointing specifically to New York City. And I've used the analogy of if you were to read Revelation 18 and you were hiring a city to fill that role, New York City is the city that would get the job. And I think it seems pretty obvious, at least to me at this point. So, okay, nuclear exchange, U.S. hit, D.C., New York City, East Coast. Revelation 18. And the other part of that equation is the other article that I mentioned that was on vaccineimpact.com. If World War III breaks out, it wouldn't be contained in Europe, was the quote from Russia. And this is the city killer. I think this is more. I think that more than likely, if Russia were to do a reciprocal type of attack because Moscow's been hit and or St. Petersburg's been hit, it would most likely be this type of weapon. And this is something that we've talked about several times on this show. The city killer. Russia's new Belgorod submarine is the world's biggest and has compartments to launch mini-subs and undersea drones. This is talking about the Poseidon nuclear drone. And I really feel like if Russia retaliates, it would be using one of these. It could be in combination with other nuclear weapons. I don't know. It just, to me, seems obvious that this is what would probably transpire if it were to go that far, which hopefully it never will. But obviously, if you're a believer in Scripture like I am, Revelation 18 is Babylon, and it's talking about a new Babylon, so it's going to unfold in some way and somehow. We just don't know when. So, anyways, this next block here I've got next to it is China and Taiwan, U.S. and Israel and Syria. So China invades Taiwan, and then U.S. gets into it as well with the fighting between Israel and Syria, and you could throw Iran in there as well. Damascus obliterated by Israel. Israel is then invaded because most likely they will use nukes. All of this leads to world banking collapse, U.S. banking collapse, World War III ends, and then this next block down here is talking about the Messiah, and that is the false Messiah. That is the Jewish Moshiach is who this is talking about, the Messiah announced in Israel. And then third temple construction begins. I'm not sure that that's exactly when that would happen. It probably would take a war before that would happen. Perhaps if Israel is attacked or, this earthquake thing happens, who knows? But chances are the third temple will begin, that construction would begin after the war. New pandemic emerges. 5G triggers symptoms in the already must be terrifying to nearly all of humanity, possibly bleeding. So that will be triggered. A pandemic that's triggered in the already. So that's the key there. It's not necessarily airborne. But yeah, they can switch it on and make it into whatever symptoms they want using 5G, 6G, whatever systems they're rolling out. Then that triggers the Great Reset. All debts are forgiven, enslavement in accepting new system. CBDCs announced as solution to financial woes. CBDCs, which we were reporting on that earlier tonight. They are rolling out the digital IDs and the digital money as fast as they can. Diem-based system announced as global monetary system used based on blockchain plus quantum computers. The name of the one world currency remains to be seen. Of course, some of that information comes directly from Anthony Patch. Diem is something he's been talking about for a long time. Diem.com, if you guys want to look that up. DIEM. But yeah, based around blockchain and quantum computers. Micro needle array patch delivers Mark of the Beast tech and protects, in quotes, people from the new gift. Mark of the Beast law announced. National Sunday laws announced. National Sunday laws would be, in my opinion, the one world religion. What I'm calling Sunday climate lockdowns, or just having to do with the climate. New religion begins based on the green agenda, and that comes right out of King Charles 101, right? Because as you guys know, I believe he is the biblical Antichrist, or will be. He's not quite there yet, but he will be. Massive earthquake in Middle East, and that will reveal the Ark of the Covenant in Jerusalem, which is that is where it is. The Israeli Antiquities organization knows all about it. They know where it is. They can't touch it. 10 Commandments discovered, because it's in the Ark, and also there with the Ark is the videotape that Ron Wyatt had taped when he was there back in the 90s. Ron Wyatt videotape discovered in Cave Temple, and with that videotape is Jesus' blood evidence discovered and confirmed to be true. And the video where I go through these things on End Times Dates, I also talk about how videotapes are only really good for a number of years. So if all of this is going to play out, the videotape has evidence of the finding of the Ark on it, and that Ron was the guy that found it. And videotapes are only good for so long. Now, can it be protected supernaturally? Of course it could. But I do think that that's an important little feature there, that videotapes don't last forever, and it's just sitting in a damp shelf in a damp cave. I should say it's sitting on a shelf in a damp cave. So who knows how long it's going to be good for? I think we're very close to this stuff happening, is what I'm saying. Third temple completed. Ark of the Covenant moved inside of it. And that remains to be seen whether or not they can touch it, but it's just a guess. Antichrist enters temple, declares himself to be God. Of course, this is right out of Scripture. I'm not sure how much of this will actually play out literally, but we know that that Satan's already trying to get into the actual temple, which is our human bodies. So I think it's both. I think it's literally also the physical temple, but it's also the real temple, which is our bodies. Meaning altering of the DNA of our bodies. The biblical Antichrist will most likely be Charles III, King Charles. And then Antichrist, or his 3D image, wipes away Jesus' blood from the mercy seat on top of the Ark of the Covenant, or at least tries to. I'm not sure if that will actually occur, or he will try to. And again, it could be some version of that, some version of him. Perhaps not the actual human being. We don't know. Abomination of desolation, Jesus' blood no longer on the mercy seat, atoning for the sins of humanity, was the last thing I wrote on that last block there. So, anyway, that's what I had on all of that. And I had mentioned that we were going to talk about it, so I thought I would bring that up tonight. And this is something that I always link to in the Substack. So if you're on the Substack list and you want to look at it closer, you're welcome to. It is linked there in the Substack list. Make sure you join me on Substack. That's the best place you can be to reach me and to get all the links to the show. Totally free. And you just go there and click. And right here, just type in your email address and click subscribe. If you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. You can still access the links, which again, totally free. You just click on no thanks and you will get to this page, which is all of the different postings. And you'll see over here on the left-hand column in particular, you'll see 2 of the last show. And one says links, one says podcast. And you'll see that all the way down the center column here. So you want the one that says links, and if you click it, it will show you guys the links to all of the articles. So these are the links to the articles that I talked about last week. And some of the videos embedded. So you can see that all of that is there if you guys want to check it out. Pretty easy to do, and it's on the Substack on diamonddisc.substack.com. And also from the homepage of the Substack here, if you scroll down just a little ways here, you will see some of the recommended Substacks that I also read, different stacks. And they load randomly whenever you load the page, so you won't necessarily see these same ones that we're looking at right now. But right under that, though, is the Diamond Report links to all of my various different platforms, different profiles that I have on the various platforms. So please follow along and make sure if you're on Rumble and BitChute and Brighteon and some of these other places that you subscribe there. Certainly would appreciate that. And, the links are all there. I think that's pretty much everything. Getter, Brighteon Social, Brighteon IO, MeWe, Gab, CloutHub, Minds, Telegram. They're pretty much all there. So yeah, definitely follow what I'm doing there if you don't mind, and definitely share. And I'm trying to build the audience and grow the show as much as possible. It seems to be that I'm losing subscribers, which I'm not exactly sure if that's my doing or if that's just the way things are unfolding with the various platforms. But not losing subscribers on the independent platforms like BitChute and Rumble and those, but certainly am on the larger ones. So, but that's okay. That's just how it goes, I guess. Not a huge deal. Anyways, if you guys want to support what I'm doing, you can definitely do that. There's 2 different ways, and I certainly would appreciate it. As you know, it requires a lot of my time every week to do this show. So you can subscribe for just a few dollars per month, or do a one-time type of donation if you want to through Substack. So there's an easy way to do that. If you're on the Substack, diamonddisc.substack.com, you can click to sign up to give there if you want to. But no pressure. No pressure at all. It is there if you are so inclined. And the other option is the store, which we've talked about many times, and you guys have seen the various products, some good quality products here. Got everything from hoodies and stickers to shirts and hats and mugs and water bottles and laptop sleeves. So all kinds of stuff. So feel free to have a look at that, and would certainly appreciate anything that you want to do to contribute to what I'm doing. So I would certainly appreciate that blessing very much, and many of you guys have already partaken in that. So thank you guys for doing that. You know who you are. And then follow along on X. This is something that I'm also trying to build and to get out there as much as possible. I'm doing a lot of reposts, what used to be called retweets. But there's some good stuff out there for sure. Like here's a video of a guy with a Trump shirt on getting kicked off of a plane that just happened in the last day or two. Just because he had that Trump shirt on, they kicked him off the plane. So there's some interesting things here. Yeah, all kinds of stuff I've found that are certainly worth a watch. This lady here is just loving paying for her groceries by scanning her hand with the Mark of the Beast technology. It's just great. She loves it. So it's the coolest thing ever at Whole Foods when you get to pay for your groceries with the Mark of the Beast. It's wonderful. You too should join in the fun. Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff on here, and follow me on X, which is the old Twitter. And if you're not on there, you should be. It's definitely way better than it used to be, I think. So yeah, there's those. And then remember, your fingers have fingertips, but your toes don't have toe tips yet. You can tiptoe, but not tip finger. So just remember that throughout this week. If you have anything that comes up where this is important, you'll have to write me and let me know, because chances are it won't be important. But I just thought it was funny. Plus, it's Jack Sparrow from Pirates. Pretty funny. And then, yeah, YouTube, Take It to the Lord in Prayer End Times dates on there. Got some good playlists and stuff here. If you just click on playlists, you can access all of the Diamond Report live shows here, and then all the Take It to the Lord in Prayers that I made, except for 2 that got banned. The other, I think 13 of the 15 are on that playlist, so feel free to check those out. They're videos that I made starting in 2019, I guess, from 2019 to about 2021, I guess, was that last one. Anyways, I may be making a new one soon. We'll see. I've got some ideas on what I may do if I do another one. So just something to think about. And then the community tab is also important. That's where I do text posts. So if you guys didn't know about that, definitely check out the community tab over on my YouTube channel. Like this one here is just talking about this show tonight. And then this was last week's info. So that is the YouTube channel. And then what else we got? We have Rumble. And I wanted to mention this video in particular. We were talking about the Belgorod and the massive, tidal wave that could occur over the East Coast. And I go into that in depth on this particular video, which I usually do link to in the Substack posts. So make sure that you check this one out, though. From Russia with Love, Will Putin Be Like Goldfinger, which is the Diamond Report special. That was an upload, not even live. It was just an upload from back in March of 2022. So important info there about the Belgorod and the Russian weapon, torpedo weapon that they have. They can wipe out entire cities. And how that may be what's used against the U.S. East Coast. I hope not, but I mean, it seems like something like that could happen, especially if Zelensky and NATO and Biden or Harris or whoever trigger this war by hitting Moscow and or St. Petersburg. So anyway, that is some of what's talked about in this video that we're looking at the cover for here. And then also the other issue here is that it's printed on the money. The water and the missiles are hitting what appears to be buildings, and it's printed on the money. And I talk about that in this video, which is going back to some important videos and things like that that I've discovered over the last few years. So anyway, yeah, it's printed on the money. So yeah, I think it's going to happen. It's just a question of when. Anyways, there's that, and then there's the BitChute channel. Make sure you're following along there if you have an account. Diamond Disc, DIAMONDISC on BitChute, and then same thing on the Brighteon platform. So yeah, Diamond Disc on both of those. Growing, but very slowly. I think I'm up over 400 subscribers now on Rumble, so that's good news. And then let's see. Then the band group is the other option here. That's again totally free and growing, and it's a good group of folks in there. People just posting things about what they like to research and what they're looking at, maybe questions or concerns or whatever. They can post them there, and it's a free and open space. So I like having the band group there, and it's a good way for people to get in touch with each other. So I think that's a good option there. So the Diamond Report on band, so it's band.us/@thediamondreport, and Miss Emily dropped that already in the chat. So it's in both chats on Rumble and on YouTube. So anyways, I think that was it for me tonight. So hope you guys have a blessed week. It is 12:37 a.m. We're wrapping one up here. The next show will be on, what is that, the 8th? September the 8th, 10 p.m. Central will be the next live show. So I had some ideas on potentially doing a new Diamond Report that will be a Take It to the Lord in Prayer series edition. So we will see how that goes. It's all going to be about the Antichrist, Charles, and how things are unfolding, where he is the shadowy figure behind the scenes here. And a lot of what we're seeing especially play out in the UK. So we'll see how it goes. I'll leave that as a little teaser for you guys, but hopefully I can get to that soon. Anyway, love you all. Hope you guys have a blessed week. We'll talk to you again next week. Blessings, and we'll see you again real soon.